Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of HomeKit Insider. You've got me, as always, Andrew O'Hara, here joining me again for the first time in a long time. It is Jennifer Tuohy from The Verge. How are you doing, Jennifer?
Hi, Andrew. I'm very well, thanks. Really excited to be back. It has been a while, but I did get to see you at CES, so that was fun.
This is true. It is always good to actually
booth.
be able to meet up and everything. So we had a few seconds in between the chaos that is CES to say hi for a moment. But now we have more dedicated time where we can talk all things smart home. And
wonderful.
We have some cool things to talk about this week. We got a little hands-on towards the end, a little teaser for people who are watching the video side of things. But I guess we can start with some more things for Vision Pro. Ooh, she's teasing things too, guys. She's got smart home things to tease as well. But before we get to our hands-on stuff, we have a couple of updates on Vision Pro. We're not going to spend forever on Vision Pro, but I am excited, Jennifer, that we're actually getting some apps here. Like, it launched with essentially no third-party apps for HomeKit other than Apple's Home app. And now we have two that I have spotted so far that have been released. So first up is HomeBatteries, which, as simple as it is ridiculously useful for smart home owners who have a lot of sensors that constantly die. So now it's been updated for Vision Pro. So you can check all your statuses and everything. And it's like a single purchase. So if you bought it on your iPhone, your iPad, or whatever, it's now going to sync over to Vision Pro 2 with like a nice spatial looking, transparent UI. So that's a plus, right?
So this is like I'm walking around my house with my Vision Pro on and I'm like, oh, my door sensor's low. Is that?
Yes, basically.
Okay.
I mean, you can't look at your door and it recognize it, but it'll float in your interface and you can see, all of your smart home batteries. I mean, if you're doing stuff in Vision Pro, you don't have to take it off to check these things. So I think it's still a useful thing.
I think that interface and there's this other one, the HomeUI. That one looks very cool. That's the one. I'm not that excited about the Vision Pro, but that is the one area I'm like, I can see the potential here of being able to interact with my smart home. Once this is not a giant thing on my head, and once it becomes maybe my glasses, being able to just reach out and tap, to turn a light on, or it's like the map view that we've got with smart things and Amazon Alexa come to life. I love this idea. So but I feel like it's a ways away from being very useful, but a great glimpse into our smart home future.
For sure. There's a whole lot of things here that Apple could do. And with something like, so the app is HomeUI, it's $10, and this one does basically just give you all of your HomeKit stuff in tiny little widgets. They can be cameras, they can be door locks, whatever, and then they can hover in your space. So whether it's like a light or anything else that you want to see like the status of, like maybe a door opening, you're sitting in your UI there, you're working on your laptop inside of Vision Pro, and a door opens, you can see like that contact sensor tripping or whatever it happens to be. But I think that one is a little bit more useful. The problem is
that's cool.
That stuff's not it's not persistent, right? So every time you take it off and put it back on,
you have to put it all back.
Your workspace. Yeah, that's the downside.
Yeah.
So
that does.
It's cool,
so it's not just going to float. The Home UI just doesn't float around as you walk. Well, it does until you turn it off, and then when you turn it back on again, you have to put it all back. That feels like something they should fix pretty soon, though, right? That seems like a pretty basic user interface.
So basically, it doesn't know
it's like
where
if you
it
opened,
is, right?
Be like every time you opened your iPhone, your apps will be in a different spot.
Exactly. That's my feeling about it. Is I want that same like desktop or whatever you want to call it inside of Vision OS to be persistent. So I want to open it back up and I immediately have like, my notes and the TV app or something and any home widgets or any other widgets I've added all kind of floating in the space still and they don't. So things are moving in the right direction, but it's looking up. It's looking up.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's exciting. It looks like a good interface as well. Even better maybe than the current Home app. I quite like these tiles. They look quite sort of nice and big and clear and show you what you're going to be doing quite quickly. It looks like in this video you can mute or pick up on the audio and the mic or with a tap. So Yeah, I think this looks like a fun interface if you spent $3,500 on your fancy home controller. Someone that tries it out, let us know. I want to know how useful this is.
Well, speaking of where I could easily spend a lot of money, let's take a short break before getting into our next topics and thank our first sponsor, which is fastgrowingtrees.com. So did you know that Fast Growing Trees is the biggest online nursery in the US with more than 10,000 different kinds of plants and over 2 million happy customers in the US? You can grow lemon, avocado, olive, or fig trees inside your home on top of a wide variety of houseplants available. Fast Growing Trees makes it easy to order online and your plants are shipped directly to your door in 1 to 2 days. And along with their 30-day Alive and Thrive guarantee, they offer free plant consultation forever. So, Jennifer, I just tried ordering from them because we are getting into the spring. And last year, I got into some apple trees. Like, I already had a bunch of, I had raspberries, I had tomatoes, I had strawberries coming out of my ears, but I really want to do some apple trees here in Ohio. And I went to the nursery. They were so expensive to buy. And I went a Honeycrisp. So I bought a Honeycrisp tree and I brought it home and everything looked fine. And I 2 weeks after I planted it, I leave and I come home and it looked like it was struck by lightning or something. No, it just had some sort of disease on the inside and had cracked in half over a strong wind and just decapitated itself. And I had spent over $100 on the stupid tree and then it died instantly. And I was so sad about it. But I don't have to because now I can order. I am for sure ordering from now on from Fast Growing Trees because they have that 30-day guarantee. And I was able to order, Jennifer, check this out, I've never heard of this before, a 5-in-1 apple tree. They take an apple tree and they graft different branches onto it. And it's one tree with 5 different types of apples.
Oh, that's cool.
5 varieties.
Sounds slightly against nature, but cool.
I am so excited about it. I also got a couple cherry trees because I'm huge into cherries and stuff. We're right below Michigan, and that's the one good thing that I think comes out of Michigan is cherries. So we'll just go with that. And they have the whole zones all plotted for you, so you can see in your area what's actually going to grow there. You can even buy warranties on these trees as an optional add-on if you want to make sure they make it through a year. It's super cool. So check them out if you are interested at all in growing bushes and berries and avocados, whatever it is, check them out. Right now, they have the best deals online up to half off select plans, and listeners to our show get an additional 15% off when using the code HomeKit at checkout. That's an additional 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code HomeKit at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, HomeKit, or using code HomeKit. Offer valid for a limited time. Tell them that we sent you. So let's get back into the new stuff. This is less fun things. But I, for some reason, I like to point out when there are massive data breaches that aren't HomeKit related. And Wyze had a fairly nasty one this week. Why don't you give us the rundown on this?
Yeah, so this is unfortunately not the first time that Wyze has had a bit of a security oopsie. And this one, it's somewhat complicated. I don't know how deep you want to go into it, but basically what happened was there was an AWS outage, which Wyze uses AWS servers, or some kind of hiccup on AWS that caused Wyze cameras to go offline. In fact, I tried to log into my Wyze app and I couldn't. So there was a server issue. And then when Wyze was bringing things back online, some kind of bug in another server that Wyze uses started to assign the wrong snapshots to the wrong user accounts, just to sort of make it as sort of simple as possible. And what happened was if you opened your Wyze app, you were seeing snapshots where your cameras were of someone else's house. Not a good thing. So apparently it wasn't possible to click in on that and see a live stream, but you were seeing the most recent snapshot from someone else's camera. They said initially when the news broke on Friday, one of the co-founders of Wyze, David Crosby, actually we reached out to him and he said, so far we've only identified a handful of users and we're working on fixing this. But by Monday morning, they had identified that over 13,000 customers had been affected by this snapshot snafu, and over 1,000 people had actually clicked on and seen the snapshot. So if your camera was pointing outside to your garden or your garage, hopefully not so much of an issue. But if you have an indoor camera, potentially there could be some even if you weren't doing anything compromising, you just wouldn't really want the inside of your house being seen by someone else. So this is not a good look for the companies. They have, to their credit this time, and told everyone what happened very quickly. And they have obviously fixed the issue now. This is the third time, I believe, that Wyze has had a security issue. In the past, they weren't very good about alerting people. In fact, one security issue they didn't tell anyone about for like 2 years. So, and there's improvement here that at least we're hearing about it, but these things shouldn't be happening in the first place. So, HomeKit Secure Video does have a big sort of privacy selling point here in that everything is end-to-end encrypted. These types of issues, I don't think I've ever heard of a HomeKit Secure Video compromise like this happen. And you do hear about things like this happening a lot. The interesting part with other companies, the interesting thing here, and the thing I think that I see with a lot of cameras is it's the thumbnail. It's that snapshot, which is really useful, right? When, for example, I have cameras in my backyard to watch over my chicken coop, and I like to get a little snapshot if there's a raccoon crawling around at 1 a.m. because if I just get a motion alert, I don't really want to wake up and check it. But if I get an alert and a snapshot and there's a picture of a raccoon, then I know I'm going to get up and run out there with my broomstick. But these snapshots, even if you're using local storage of videos, which you can do with Wyze cameras, but these snapshots still have to go to the cloud. That's sort of one of the ways that snapshots work. I think there are companies that have figured out workarounds here. But yeah, whenever you're putting any data from your home on the cloud, it's at risk. And this was not a nefarious hack or any, no one was going in to try and make this happen as far as we're aware. It was just basically a, back-end snafu. And this is one of the big problems you're going to encounter, unfortunately, when you use cloud-based security cameras. So Wyze, they've said they fixed the issue. They've notified people who were affected. I got an email telling me that my account was not affected, but I've seen some people online who got the notification that theirs was one of the cameras that had been affected. And if that was you, I'm guessing that you've probably thrown your Wyze cameras away.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? And do you have any Wyze cameras?
I don't, mainly for the lack of HomeKit. I mean, that's what we cover here the most. And as more and more people use smart home stuff, and as there are more and more smart home companies, we're going to see more and more of this kind of stuff. And it's rough because it's scary because you're trusting these companies to basically keep you safe. And then when they don't, or they break your trust, like it's hard to really trust them again after that. And especially for Wyze, whereas this happened multiple times, it's just another black eye. But I did read, I think it was in Andrew's article for The Verge, he says that a few of them were able to catch a video that they could view. So there was a few instances where they could
I thought it was all snapshots.
watch live.
Yeah,
like you said, it was about
and
1,504 people tapped to enlarge the thumbnails, and few of them caught a video they could view.
Yeah. And in some cases, an event video was able. So this would be an event video. So like so Wyze cameras work by only recording when motion is detected or some kind of an event is detected. And they have, since, they've implemented a new system where you have to have additional verification to view events. But again, speed is kind of the issue or the essence when you have a security camera. If something's happened, you want to be able to see it quickly. And the more layers of security you have to go through to get to them, make it a less useful device for you. So it's a struggle. I mean, there are a lot of people want to use security cameras. I mean, how valuable they are in actually helping with things like break-ins has yet to really be proven, but there are a lot of helpful functions. For example, chickens. And when your kids get older, making sure they've come home from school on time. But yeah, it's still a conundrum that there are not many great solutions for unless you use everything locally, which again ends up creating a slightly more friction. It's a bit more complicated to set up. For example, Ring cameras offer end-to-end encryption now too, but once you set up end-to-end encryption, you don't get some of the features. So,
like the
because
rich notifications, I think exactly, that was one of the things.
Yeah, so you lose that, the rich notifications, and that really has. Rich notifications have taken security cameras from being kind of an annoyance to actually very useful, because, when you used to just get barrage of notifications and no idea what was happening, it wasn't useful. You didn't want to have to keep opening your app every 5 minutes. But when you can, with a quick glance at your phone, see what's happening and decide whether you're going to take any action. That's more useful. And HomeKit Secure Videos figured it out. You get rich notifications in there, but it's all processed locally, and obviously you have a hub. Wyze cameras don't use any kind of a hub. They're entirely cloud-based. And as I said, you can use local recording, but it's a different system in the app. You get different types of notifications. So, yeah, it's a tricky one. Maybe one that Matter will solve. We'll see.
We will absolutely see. I mean, Apple has its trade-offs, right? Because they do everything locally, which is great. They have all the rich notifications and it's a lot more secure. But then we have the other issues of like how much processing power can your local hub allocate, especially when you have a large number of cameras, which is why Apple's like AI detection features are so bad comparatively.
So bad.
I know.
So, and yeah,
what's that
why
trade-off
is that?
gonna be?
It's the video notification is the issue, right? They need to add some other types of sensors, and they don't control the cameras. Obviously, they just control the software platform. Because I had an automation set up trying with a HomeKit Secure Video Doorbell camera to turn on my light in the hallway when it detected a person or motion, and my light went insane. Yes. On off. And then I tried to narrow it down and
No, because it'll actually like the light turning on would like trigger motion, and it would like, or it would like for me, I would have it turn on when it detected motion and then turn off when motion was no longer detected. So it would turn on and then it's like, okay, no more motion, and then it would shut off. And then it's like, whoa, did you see that? Something moved. Motion. And then turn it back on. Yeah. And then it would go in a perpetual cycle because Apple doesn't allow you to create automations based on its AI rules. So when it's able to detect the person, package, car, animal, you can't create an automation for those, which I think is absolutely stupid. I want to be able to turn on my porch light when a person is there. Like that's specifically what I want, or maybe a person in a car, whatever the situation, but I don't want it to turn on every time there's motion. And it's anything for a hallway. It just doesn't make any sense. And the reason why I think their stuff is bad, to answer your question, it's because everything is done locally. Yeah, it's all done on your Apple TV, whereas everyone else is able to use like a larger server. And what I've heard anecdotally, this is like a CES whispering thing. I heard it's because Apple doesn't have the data to train their machine learning stuff. Because it's all they don't get the data. It's all private.
It's like with the Wyze on the Wyze app, it will say, "Would you like to donate this clip to the Wyze servers so we can train our data?" Yeah, to make these identifications better and work better. And yeah, you're right, Apple, I guess. And this is the problem with the assistant Siri. She it doesn't have data because it doesn't. We know a while back they were doing recordings, but darn. Sorry. I tried not to say it and then I did.
When they dropped the hey, it actually made it so much harder because you could say just those 4 letters and get away with it. Like we would be able to say on the podcast, oh yeah, just ask and then there, and it would be fine. But now they've gotten rid of that keyword. You can't even say it at all. So we need like a pseudonym or something.
Yes.
Well, let's go. Next piece of news here. I thought this was interesting. This is nothing concrete here, but looking at AirPlay stuff. AirPlay is really useful. We're seeing it now deployed into hotel rooms. And funny enough, it looks like they're actually exploring turning the Quest 3 into an AirPlay receiver. So you could potentially cast audio or video from like your laptop or your iPhone into the Quest 3. And I guess according to this Twitter thread, that they have talked about. So it's the VP leading VR, Mark Rapkin. He says that they have asked Apple for permission to use the Quest 3 as a receiver. So will this happen? I don't know, but I think it's very interesting. You can see literally a Quest 3 showing the Home app. Like, it's kind of wild.
Do you think Apple will give them permission to be an AirPlay receiver? That seems like the big question here, especially with their brand new fancy gadget. But yeah, I mean, we have a Quest 2 that my kids absolutely love. And the issue I always had was I wanted to watch what they were seeing. And I would like to be able to AirPlay from the Quest to my Apple TV. You could AirPlay from the Quest to like a Chromecast. But yeah, the experience was pretty wonky. It would be great to be able to see what they're seeing while they're on the VR, and vice versa. Yeah, like you could sit back and watch your iTunes movies. Oh, they're not iTunes movies anymore, right? They're just movies, Apple movies. In your Quest 3, I think it makes a lot of sense. I would use this if it was a feature that was available. I think the if is the big question. I noticed he didn't say we're working on or we're going to bring this. We asked Apple for permission to.
Yep, they're putting
very
the onus
carefully
entirely
worded
on Apple. Yep.
Yeah. But I mean,
if it doesn't
have you got a
happen,
Quest?
it'll be all Apple's fault.
Yes, exactly.
So I have a Quest 2, and I had tried the Quest 3. I had the Quest 3 like when it launched, and then I got rid of it. And then I did borrow another one again for when the Vision Pro had launched. So I picked it up again when Vision Pro launched to try it out again, and it was not for me. The biggest thing is I just felt sick so quickly in it. Like I never felt sick in the Vision Pro at all. And then with the pass through on the Quest 3, I didn't on the Quest 2, but on the Quest 3 with the pass through, like I'd move my hand up and all my fingers would like stretch and like contort. Like, and I was like, "Ugh,"
like Matrixy,
and it just made me like nauseous. Yeah, it wasn't a good experience for me, and I know everyone's going to be different. And if you're not using pass through, and if you're using like, just in games, I'm sure much better experience. I had a better experience in those, but the pass through thing for me was just not good.
Not good.
And also with a child, you kind of need pass through. Like you can't live in a VR headset. And
you might want to sometimes, but
true. I'm just gonna go ahead and like I just watch him making a mess in the pants. I'm just gonna go ahead and go into an environment and not see all of that. Just hide it.
Oh, honey, I wasn't. View. Yeah. I didn't see him pulling all the pots and pans out of the cupboard.
No, somehow I missed all of the hearing it too.
Yeah.
Oh man, we've locked all of ours up except for the Lazy Susan one in the corner, which has like I used to do catering and stuff too, so like I cook a lot and I have a lot of like prep bowls. Like I love the really lightweight metal commercial bowls, so I've got all the sizes of those, and I've got a ton of little white metal and glass like cups and ramekins for prepping ingredients or for sauces and things like that. His favorite toys. He constantly pull out a whole stack of like the little metal cups, and like you'll just find them dispersed over the entire house.
I have a parenting hack for you right here. So you need to dedicate one drawer that's at his height, and then put a whole bunch of like Tupperware in there, and then be like, "Here's your drawer," and then he can just play in that all the time.
Okay, there we go. Well, because we have to already hide some of his snacks because he can now find his snacks and get them out. So he'll just have to have
so I had a great one for that. He's a bit young for this, but I used to put a sensor when my kids so I would be working from home and my kids would come home from school, a little younger, sort of, 8, 9, and they would go straight into the kitchen and open the snack cupboard and start eating snacks and not eat dinner. And I was busy at work, so I didn't notice. So I put a contact sensor on the snack cupboard door, and every time it opened, a smart speaker right next to them would say, "No snacks before dinner," and send me an alert. It didn't work, but it was fun.
Well, see, that's what I did, because if you remember early on this podcast, I don't know if you were listening like to the early episodes, but Faith, she always would like snack and eat chocolate, and then she's like, "I'm breaking out. Why'd you let me eat chocolate?" I'm like, "Because you snuck it." Like, I can't stop you from eating chocolate. If you want chocolate, you're gonna eat chocolate. And she was like, no, and she started taping it shut to try to stop herself from doing it. So I was like, what if I put like a HomeKit lock on there? Because Yale has the little cabinet locks. And she's like, if I want chocolate, I'm going to break that off. I'm like, okay, so I guess we're not going to do that then. But we do have a contact sensor on there, and I thought that would help. But it just sends me the notification, and sometimes she'll just go open it and close it 50 times just to annoy me. She's like, yeah, I'm getting chocolate. I don't care. Like, you do you. Like, I'm not going to stop you. You do what you want.
Maybe you guys shouldn't buy the chocolate. That would help.
Okay, the problem is she's a baker, so she constantly will bake, and she's like, well, I can't stop snacking when we have cupcakes in the house. I'm like, you made the cupcakes.
I need to meet Faith. I think we get along very well.
I know. We got to get her out to CES like next year or something. It'll be fun.
Bring her cupcakes.
Well, oh, she would love it. Before we get to our 2 hands-on that we are very excited about here, let's take one more quick break. We are thanking them again. They are back with us sponsoring this episode, and it is Shopify. If you are buying stuff online, you have probably used a Shopify checkout before, and you know how easy they are and why they are so good for just everyone across the line, whether you are developer of a website, you are building it and you need an easy way to make an e-commerce platform, whether you are the actual vendor and you're trying to deal with like promo codes and gift cards and digital versus physical goods, all of that stuff, or you're on the customer side and you want an easy, streamlined checkout. You want to be able to use things like Google Pay or Apple Pay, and then you want a way to track your stuff afterward. And Shopify handles all of that even after your order is completed. You can kick yourself over to the Shop app and you can track your order from placing it to fulfillment to tracking or to shipping, all of that kind of stuff. It's just a wonderful experience from the beginning. I love shopping with websites that use Shopify. And you will absolutely notice that Shopify checkout process because it looks so clean and easy to use. Shopify actually powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US. And Shopify's global force is also Shopify is also the force behind companies like Allbirds, Rothy's, Brooklinen. I believe Nomad Goods, which we've talked about them on the show before, they use Shopify as their e-commerce platform. They also are really good about actually converting people. All their carts, they are great at converting those people who have stuff in their carts to actually placing their orders. They are good for small businesses. They are good for big businesses. They're good for everyone in between. They're good for businesses and customers. So if you have a website, you're looking to sell stuff online, sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/HomeKit, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/HomeKit now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/HomeKit. Seriously, Shopify, thank you for sponsoring this episode. I love websites when they use Shopify. I actually get really annoyed, Jennifer, when you go to a website that like doesn't support Shopify or something, or one of the other e-commerce platforms, but like they don't have any of your card information saved. They don't take Apple Pay. It's just really obnoxious. I don't know if it's safe. Like there's all those things in there. So it kind of annoys me. So I'm glad that ones like Shopify exist. So let's go ahead and talk about this one. I want you to tell me all about this guy here. I don't know what the full name is. What's the name of this? The Smart Home Hub, Amazon Smart Hub.
Yes.
What's this one called?
Well, it's the Echo Hub is the name, but Amazon calls it the Echo Hub, and then Smart Home Control Panel is the sort of subtitle. So it's distinctly not an Echo Show. So I think that's kind of, if HomeKit users are familiar with the Echo Show line, the Echo Hub is not an Echo Show, even though it kind of looks like one. Here it is. It's a bit bright, sorry. But the big difference with the Echo Hub and the Echo Show is that the Echo Hub does not have the big bulbous speaker on the back like the Echo Show. And it really does not sound as good as the Echo Show. But it's not designed for music playing or video watching, even though you can do both of those things. The main thing it is designed for is controlling your smart home, which is something it's actually pretty good at. Oh, darn, I just unplugged it. But this is a good time to show that one of the other neat features about it that's different from the show is that it uses USB-C. And what that means is that you can also power it over Ethernet. It's because you can use a USB-C PoE Ethernet adapter. So as a hub for your smart home, as I'm sure, Andrew, you're familiar with, it's nice to have your main hub be powered over Ethernet, like the Apple TV can be done. And that helps with connectivity and reliability issues, if your Wi-Fi is a bit congested. So it's great that it's got that option too. And it can also be wall mounted.
That's what I was just going to say. Plus, since it's mounted on your wall, it's more likely to run, a PoE line versus like having a USB-C line hiding in your wall.
Right.
A much easier way to actually install and get power to this thing.
Yes, for sure. It definitely, they've made it as easy as possible to put on your wall, and it comes with only a wall mount. You can also have a stand that costs a little extra. It's a lot like the Echo Show 15 in that respect, which also comes with a wall mount and a stand. That's the Echo's other wall mountable device, but the Echo Show 15 is basically like a TV now, a kitchen TV, whereas this is really force controlling your smart home. And they've done a really good job. It's not a great visual here. I'm sorry, it's so bright. But it's got 3 panels. And the way it works is you have the left-hand panel here is your groups, and that would be your rooms in Apple Home. The main panel here are your widgets. And so you can customize these to whatever you like, whatever you want them to be. So I've got cameras, weather, and then the room that it's in, and then another room. And when you just tap on the button, it will it's pretty instant because this has also got local radios in it. And this is the first Echo device that has touch local control, because most Echo devices use voice and they rely on the cloud because of that integration with Alexa. There are some elements that are locally controlled, but most of the commands go to the cloud. So this has, and in my testing, I definitely found it to have much speedier reaction. So very much press the button and it happens, which is a really nice feature. As I'm sure you're familiar with, smart home controls can be less than speedy. Or you use your phone, you have to unlock it or swipe up even just to get the control center. That's still an extra step that you have to take. And for me, I'm always looking, I love smart home buttons. I'm always looking for buttons to do these kind of things. Like I just finished testing this button here, which is the Linksura smart home button. So there's lots of buttons in my life. And this, I felt like could be a good solution to all of those buttons. Of course, it's not portable. It's really designed to be kept in one spot. And it also has shortcuts to all your different devices at the bottom. So these are shortcuts to locks, lights, security panel. So if you have a Ring alarm system, this can act as a security panel. Of course, this is Amazon, and right now it's very much Amazon focused. Although Alexa is a broad ecosystem, it works better with Amazon devices like Ring, cameras, Ring alarm. But they have said that they're looking to expand support for other products. So you might one day be able to say access an abode alarm system through the security panel, but obviously those are going to be down to individual partnerships. So it's an interesting concept. It's something that sort of trickled down from the high-end smart home. Savant, Control 4, Crestron, they all have these kind of interactive panels that you put on your wall or maybe on a tabletop. And then there's some security systems like Vivint has touch panels. This is a bit more like a security system touch panel because it's not speedy. It's not like a high-end tablet device. It's not like having an iPad on your wall. I will definitely tell you that because I have had an iPad on my wall to try and control my smart home, which is, a very overpriced light switch, to be fair. And after about a year, the battery started to swell. That was the downside for me of having an iPad on my wall. And there's no battery in this. It's all power. And it's good. It's also an Echo device, so you can watch movies on it, play music. When you're not using it, it is a photo frame / it'll have a sort of screensaver on it. And then it doesn't have a camera. So all the other Echo Show devices have cameras. So that's what's kind of interesting here. And the reason, or one of the things that not having a camera enables is it has a little PIR sensor. And as you walk up to it, the screensaver goes away and the smart home dashboard presents itself. And you can just press your button, turn your lights on, lock your door, whatever you want to do, and walk away. So it's a real tap and done, which I like. So is this something you would feel you have any interest in using something like this in your home? Do you feel like you need that kind of central control panel? I mean, for me, the family is the one that probably will use it more than anyone else, because everything else they have to rely on either voice or, my phone.
Well, I mean, I have so many thoughts about this thing when it was actually now released. Is there's a lot of comparisons and there's a lot of stuff that we can try to take away from it. So the first thing is, it reminds me of the Brilliant panels. It's kind of what Brilliant's trying to do, but Amazon already has a leg up because it owns so many of those brands that it can integrate with more deeply. And now I really like the Brilliant ones, and while they do, or they're working on supporting Matter, they don't support it all, yet. But that would be the dream, right? To be able to use something like a Brilliant control with everything in your Apple Home. And with this, it supports Matter, I believe. So if you have an Apple Home and you are, going down the road of Matter devices, but using Apple HomeKit, this can work for you. You can, for the most part, you can control, your Eve devices, all of that. But the problem is, not everything is in Matter yet, like cameras. So none of your cameras will be able to show up here. Your doorbell can't show up here. So it's not quite there yet, but it could easily be. Hey, with the next couple of versions of Matter, we could be there with at least some degree of the video support. But
and it has a Thread radio in it too, so it would obviously work with all the Eve devices. I mean, it's a hub too. So the Brilliant panel is great, and in fact, I put this in a spot where I had a Brilliant panel for testing, and it is a similar comparison, but the Brilliant panel does have more sort of tapping and swiping you might need to do because it doesn't show quite as much on the central panel.
Screen,
smaller screen, and it's not a hub, so the Brilliant panel doesn't have any radios in it. But the Brilliant panel is also $400. This one's $180, so there's quite a big difference there.
Yeah, well, it actually pushes it. If you want the stand, which I think the stand looks terrible, might be the word.
It's not an attractive stand.
I'm pretty sure they were making hey, this launches tomorrow, and they're like, oh shit, we forgot to make a stand. Somebody,
it's the same stand that's the Echo Show 15 uses, and it's one company's Sanuk. I forget. It's not Sanuk. That's sandals.
Sanus or something. I think
it should say on here somewhere. Sanus. Yes, it's Sanus.
Yeah.
So it's nice because it's very articulating, but yes, it's not aesthetically pleasing. It's just a piece of metal and plastic. It's the exact same as the Echo Show 15. Yeah. It's easy to get on and off though, so I've been switching between wall mounts and tabletop stand. I actually like having this in my office because it's a good little device for controlling the lights when I'm, if I'm about to go on a Zoom call, I can turn my overhead lights off, and now I can't get it back on. But it is actually easy to get back on.
Well, to me, the question that I think about is which form factor is Apple going to take? Because it could do something like that, something like Brilliant. I mean, Brilliant is 100% wall mounted. Then there is the new Echo Smart Hub or Hub, whatever it is, that is going to be wall or stand mounted. And then you have ones like the Google Home Max.
I know.
Maxi Hub.
Goodness, don't these look alike? I mean, seriously.
But this is what this is what I expect Apple to do more of, because first off, the fabric texture looks like Apple. But second of all, I think this allows Apple to tout the audio a little bit better. I think they're going to want to leverage its assistant and its audio capabilities more. So I don't think Apple is going to do a wall-mounted one.
No,
but what
I think you're right.
Also think is interesting is the price point. With that stand, you're looking at $210 for this thing. I kind of thought it would be lower. from Amazon. And that gives Apple a lot of room to go with a higher price tag.
Well, because Amazon never runs sales on any of their devices, so it is, it's $30 more than the Echo Show 8, which I actually said to them, the Echo Show 8 has a camera and better speakers. Why is this more expensive? Why? And their response was, well, it's this smart home dashboard. This UI is unique and it's only for this device. And I'm like, but that doesn't seem like it'd be more expensive. But I think the reason is, we missed the best part, which isn't, so much of an issue for Apple users, but there are no ads on this. It doesn't have any of the rotating content stuff that shows up on the price on the Amazon. And that, I was like, it's like buying the ad-free Kindle. You pay like $30 extra. I think that's why. And then maybe they'll release a version down the line where it has ads and it's $30 cheaper.
Yeah, and I think they look at like the average smart home user who would want to control like this, and they probably know they pay a little more. Mm-hmm. Whereas like the other ones are like for your mass consumer that just wants a cheap way to get, a visual Amazon device into their home. So
for sure.
I don't know.
It's interesting.
I think it's really interesting.
And I think it does. And it does. I think it does sort of give an idea of perhaps what might come the way of Apple with their home controller, or whether HomePod with a screen, which hopefully will have some good home controls on it. I'm thinking it's more likely to be like a smart display though than a dedicated home controller, this is for the Amazon customer, the Amazon A voice assistant customer who's been asking basically for this, with the Show 15 and the Show 8, none of them really feel that need. And basically, I think Amazon's built this because their customers were asking for it. And that's not something Apple does really, is it?
No.
Build what you want.
Last question before I move on.
They build what you need, right?
They tell you what you need. They tell you what you need. Do you think Apple will in fact make some sort of home hub device, this HomePod with a screen type smart display? And when do you think that we're going to see it? If they would make one.
I mean, the chatter is definitely building. I feel like it's almost inevitable now that we will get it. And I think we might even see it next month. Honestly, I think, we're overdue for an event, right? They need new iPads sometime soon. And I don't know. I think we will see something soon. I just don't know. I wonder if it might just be the HomePod, like the screen on the top of the HomePod, slightly more
I don't
think
that's going to be much of anything. Yeah, no. I think that's going to be a super minor update just by making it more easy to understand. I think there will be two distinct products.
I think we'll get that smart and display. Then yeah. I mean, they have the smart display market has been kind of a tricky one, like Google's Pixel smart display type thing, whatever that was supposed to be, really does not seem to have done well and wasn't very. The problem smart displays have is they don't have a single purpose. They don't have a really compelling use case. They're cool and fun to be able to, see your video doorbell or play music, but there's so many other devices that can do that already. And that's what I like about what the Echo Hub is it has a very clear purpose. There's a reason. If you have this need, this device fills it. And I think Apple needs to nail that use case for whatever device it comes out with. If it just comes out with a HomePod with a screen that's basically like having an iPhone stuck on a HomePod, it's like, well, I have an iPhone and I have an iPod. Why am I needing this? So they need to kind of nail that use case. And I think the use case is home, but you and I are, I think, slightly in the minority. So
probably. They got to build up all of those things. As long as they don't short us HomeKit users, like, especially if they spend some time on that interface, right? And then who knows what we're going to get? Are we going to get something that looks kind of like the Apple TV's control center situation? Are we going to get something that looks like the existing Home app, just like literally just moving that to this display? Are we going to get something that looks kind of like
wouldn't be good.
standby mode on your iPhone?
I mean, it feels like that's likely, isn't it? I mean, but then why not just make a standby mode for iPads?
Because
but
I think
the key here is it's going to be a powered device. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
I think this will be a powered device, not a battery
device. You
device.
Take it. You can't take it. That's going to ruin it. Because I would just get so annoyed if every time I go to the kit, I try to use it and it's like, and it's gone. Because Harrison took it to color, Faith took it to read, I took it to the living room to control a light and then forgot to put it back. Like, no, it has to stay fixed. So,
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think a power that will be the difference there. Yeah, and that could make it less expensive too. Although I heard you guys talking about this.
That display.
No, it does. I heard you guys talking about this a couple of weeks ago, and about the price. I do think it's going to be very expensive.
What's your very expensive? I'm saying like $450.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say $499 probably. If it's big, if it's like iPad mini size screen,
I think 8-inch. Yeah.
Yeah. So like this, which is this is 8-inch. I would say $499 would be my guess. Okay. Which is, people will buy that. People bought the $3,500 base computer. So
this is true.
I don't think Apple's shy about pricing.
Vision Pro. Okay. Last thing to hit on, one more hands-on. This time I've got it in front of me, and we saw this at CES, Jennifer. It is Belkin's Auto-Tracking Stand Pro. With DockKit is the full name. I don't know who they're letting name things at Belkin. I know it. I don't know who is naming things over at Belkin. But it's not great of a name. I hated trying to even put it into the YouTube title, like, because you can't. Like, it's like you could put the name, and it's like YouTube says you have 2 characters left. What are they going to be? And like you can't do it, which just makes SEO even harder. So I don't know what they were thinking with all of that. But the point is, this is a Apple MagSafe certified stand that uses Apple's new DockKit framework as a smart tracking camera thing. Now, the setup process on this is amazingly cool. There's a tiny little NFC logo right there on the top, and you bring your phone towards it, and check this out, Jennifer, and anyone watching the video, it literally pairs like your HomePods or your AirPods. A little card, a modal pops up at the bottom, says it's connecting. I'm going to try to tap it on the screen. It says connecting. Now, my phone's not up to date, so I don't have like the latest version of iOS because there's actually a new glyph they've put there instead. But this pops up. It'll just go ahead and pair with your thing here. Takes like 10 seconds to actually do this whole pairing process. And once this is done, you just place it onto the stand. I can go ahead and open up the camera. And now look, it's going to like bow to me. Watch this. The bow is very cute if it actually does it. It's probably not going to do it because I'm on camera and it hates me right now. Of course it does. Well, it'll bow to you.
I can visualize it.
Oh, it's bowing to me. Yeah, it's not actually. So I think it's because I already had this paired before. But now it's tracking me. And I can move this or I can move me. But the camera will just follow you around. And it has full 360-degree tracking. And it'll work with both the front and rear facing cameras. So choose whichever one you want. And it works in both orientations. So if you're shooting stuff for short form content, you can put it vertically. Otherwise, it'll work landscape. There's 360-degree motion horizontal and then 90-degree vertical tilting for this. So you can move up and down. But the magic of this is that in a lot of ways, Belkin didn't handle any of the hard work. It's all being handled by Apple's DockKit. So that is their framework for this that allows all the tracking, and it's powered through the native camera API. So any app that uses the native camera, this will work in. So Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Slack video calls, FaceTime, YouTube, TikTok, all the major platforms that are using, video, this will work with out of the box. There is no third-party app that you need to set up and do anything with. It just automatically works. A couple other fun things I tested out. You can use your Apple Watch. So you could use the remote app on your Apple Watch to start and stop recording. So if you started it here on, you put it on there, you can walk away, then start it on your Apple Watch. So you don't have to like walk and then walk away and then edit afterwards. You could also use this great with your Apple TV. So if you pair it with your Apple TV and then do like a FaceTime call, you could have this sitting in the middle of the room, and no matter where you are, it would follow you around. You're chasing your child, whatever, it's going to continuously follow you. It works really, really well. I'm very impressed by it. And Belkin says it'll get better over time as Apple improves DockKit. So as Apple just updates iOS, DockKit can get new features and their dock will improve. So this is the first one to support this. Probably going to be more, but I think it's really cool. And I know before the episode started, when we were kind of talking through things, you had even had somebody reach out suggesting how Apple could blend their DockKit API with HomeKit Secure Video and maybe make a really intriguing device.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. This is something that you already, I mean, we were just talking about the Echo Shows. Like the Echo Show 8 has a camera in it that does this kind of zoom and like zoom and track, follow. And it's really useful. I use it quite a lot for calling, and it is great the way it kind of keeps you in the focus. The way you're talking about it is sort of content creation, but it's also great for just, FaceTiming and presumably with family and friends. But what I, from a HomeKit perspective, think would be interesting, and this is a user reached out to me on Twitter and said, or X, and said, is it possible? Twitter. So they had just picked up the Akara G3, and they were frustrated by the fact that the pan and tilt doesn't work in HomeKit Secure Video. And that's obviously a problem from Apple's side, not from Akara's side. And this obviously DockKit has this pan and tilt capability in it. So it seems like hopefully it could be an easy port from DockKit to HomeKit and potentially see some improvement to HomeKit Secure Video and be able to use pan and tilt, because that is a great feature of most security cameras. If you're going to have a security camera inside your house, which, as we've discussed, might not always be great, but being able to just have one so that you can see all around without having to have them in multiple spots or to get like a flying one that Ring wants you to get is a really good feature. I actually have an Akara G3 in my kitchen, and I love, when you leave home, and when you come home, it turns off, but when I leave home, it turns on, and then I can indulge my ADD when I worry that I've left my stove on, and I can pan and tilt to the stove and look and see if it's indeed on or not. And it's great, but you can't do that in Apple Home. So it would be really interesting to see if they could bring that. And I think you were also mentioning that there's some features in DockKit about person identification. So if they could also add, like pet identification or vehicle identification, and you could have tracking from your cameras in HomeKit Secure Video, be a great pet cam. Keep an eye on your cat or your kit or your puppy when you're away from work, and it can track them as they're walking around the house. I mean, there are pet cams that can do that now, but if you could do that all through Apple Home, that would be it seems like a great feature. Hopefully Apple will do that. Does it sound feasible to you?
I mean, it sounds very feasible because, both of these, HomeKit and DockKit, are already like MFI partner hardware frameworks that they can use. They can build in HomeKit in their product, they can build DockKit in their product. Now, Apple just has to marry those two together, but they've already done the hard work on each of them. HomeKit and HomeKit Secure Video already has support for vehicles, packages, as well as pets or animals and humans. DockKit, I believe, supports people, hands, and animals. It actually has a whole thing where you can train your stuff with machine learning to, I think, track other objects as well. So it could marry these two together pretty easily. And I could see Apple even trying to leverage some more of its other smart mumbo jumbo, like, maybe we'll automatically move to where we hear location using onboard directional mics. Like it could put something out there like that. Or it could say the camera will automatically point to cover the room that it detects motion at most frequently to try to, because if it's covering 360 degrees, maybe you always want it to be facing a certain area, and it could use machine learning to detect where motion comes from most and then try to cover all of that in its default view. So that way, like chances are it's going to catch whatever it is as quick as possible. Like there's all sorts of things Apple could do that could all be done locally and make HomeKit better. So I don't know. I didn't even
HomeKit
think
Secure
about
Video.
that, but
HomeKit Secure Video really feels like it's getting a bit long in the tooth. I feel like we're long overdue for some updates there.
last year I thought was the year we were getting updates, and we didn't. Because I thought just the basic ones, right, like 4K or even 2K support, like come on, like where is that?
We got more
like,
cameras,
you're so far
right?
behind.
That was
we did
it.
get more. Now you've unlimited cameras, all you
Yes.
want at 1080p, which is not enough. Especially looking at outdoor cameras, like if you're trying to zoom into your yard.
Yeah,
like outside, I mostly use I'll use the Eve cam by our deck because everything's gonna be close and it's a spotlight, so it's well lit. But looking like farther than that, I'm using like the Arlo Ultras with 4K resolution because you need to be able to zoom in and see some idea of what's going on there. Just doesn't make sense otherwise.
Well, I know we might not want to go into this, but my theory is they're waiting on Matter camera support because I think, hopefully, Apple's donated HomeKit to Matter. So it would sort of follow suit that HomeKit Secure Video could be some form of the foundation for whatever Matter camera support is. Although, from what I've heard to date, Matter camera support is just going to be live stream, not any of the other features because of obvious reasons. Ching.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's what I had heard. I never know what's like, mumblings and what's real, but I had heard the same stuff of like, you can't deal with the recording in Matter just because one, everyone uses a different like method of recording, but two, that's where everyone makes their money from those cloud recordings, the cloud storage stuff. And since it is a member-driven organization, none of them want to give up their cash cows. So they're going to continue to try to push their recording or their cloud services.
That's where they'll put their extra features and But the DockKit,
good game there.
Yeah.
No, I just think Apple, because it's already built into your iCloud. Like you're not paying an extra fee. Like
no, well,
it basically just comes with my Apple Arcade and Apple News and Fitness, and I get unlimited cameras.
Yeah, it's definitely the cheapest form of cloud storage you can pay for if you're going to do any cloud storage with your cameras to date. Although Apple does like to keep raising the prices, so whether it will stay that way. Everyone's been raising their prices recently too. So Arlo and Ring, and it's just everything. Subscriptions are just getting more and more expensive. But how much is the Belkin Dock? I'm not going to say the name.
Okay, so that's the rub. And so Belkin had an earlier version of this, and I'm pretty sure it was like $60. And it, like all the other ones, required you to use Belkin's app to go with it. And then you had to hope that app, whether it was the Belkin one or any of the others that exist, had some sort of integration with the apps that you wanted to use, whether it's TikTok or Reels or whatever. And if it didn't, or if those integrations weren't smooth, like you had a whole bunch of issues there to make that happen. So it's like $60, but it wasn't easy.
Not as functional.
Didn't always work well. Yeah, had lots of hiccups there. This is much more expensive. Let me
guess.
Okay.
250.
Oh, it sounds cheap.
200. 199.
It's actually $179.
Okay. I wasn't that far off.
And I think it's a decent price point because if you look at like Pivo, that's another big one out there. They start, I think, at $150, but they go up to $299 for their highest end version of these things. Yeah. So I don't think the price point is terrible on it, especially for what you're getting here. It also has, MagSafe.
Is that an Apple Watch charger, or does it charge your watch?
No,
or your
no Apple Watch
AirPods?
charger, just MagSafe.
And it is charging though.
Yes, so Apple certified MagSafe, so 15 watts of charging when you have this plugged in, but it also has a battery pack, so this will go 5 hours without power.
Oh,
so you can
that's
take
nice.
it with you or whatever and still run this just on battery. That just got
a lot more useful.
Yeah.
So you can have it by your bedside table, and then when you want to go do your thing, you just unplug it and nice. Okay.
Right? I thought
like
about
that.
shooting the podcast on it this week, but then I want to demo it So like I wanted to be able to hold it up and everything.
Yeah.
So I didn't do that. But there's a simple button on it to turn it on and off, or pausing motion tracking, which is what I did, so it wasn't like continually moving. Then there's a tripod thread on the bottom, 1/4-inch tripod thread. So put it on any of your tripods, your Joby, Gorilla Pods, whatever, and stick it anywhere.
Cool.
But it's
and does it do standby mode?
It probably could. Hold on, I just unplugged the cable.
You could still use it as a charger, right?
Yeah.
Like it is just.
In theory, it's a chonky charger.
Yes, because that's got the battery in it. Chonky charger.
Yeah,
I think you just gave them their marketing. Much better.
The
Belkin chonky charger.
Chonky charger. Yep. Chonky charger with auto tracking.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So 180.
And this is the only one that does this, right? Like none. There are no other DockKit.
0 other options if you want one that's like native like this, with literally tap to pair, automatic upgrading through iOS, all of the native experiences without relying on any third-party apps. Like this is the only one that's going to do it, let alone 15 watts of MagSafe charging, which I think is an extra bonus. So I think it's a decent value with what it is.
Yeah, well, you sold me. I wasn't interested initially. But the battery, I like the battery.
Yeah,
I think that is a very that'll be useful for me. Because I have to do social videos every now and then, and I struggle with I like propping my camera up, trying to I balance it on my cheese grater. This would be much better.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, my daughter is calling me, and I can't get her to stop.
No worries. We have had so much stuff to talk about this episode. This was great. Thank you very much for joining the show for this week. We'll have you back anytime. We will have you back after we get through the March event, and we'll see what Apple did or didn't announce at this thing.
Yeah.
Where do you want to point people to, Jennifer?
So if you want to read more about the Echo Hub, you can read my review at theverge.com, which is also where all of my other articles will be found. And then I'm on the Threads and the TikTok as Smart Home Mama. And you can also find me on X still occasionally at JP2E. And, every now and then on HomeKit Insider.
Awesome. Thank you again, Jennifer. Everybody else, thanks for listening. Go do all the stuff that you do. Give us 5, 10, 20-star reviews on your podcast app of choice. Go ahead and follow along with us on video at youtube.com/HomeKit Insider. If you have any questions that you want to answer for the next episode of the show, be sure to shout them out. Let me know. There's links for me as well as all of Jennifer's socials in the show notes, and we'll catch you on the next episode.